Mom's boyfriend, a colonel, blocked the hallway and said I needed to follow his authority. If I lived here, I pulled my admiral credentials from my wallet and said Colonel. The hallway was narrow, but Rick made it feel like a coffin. He was looming over me, all 6'2" of retired military ego, screaming so close I could smell the stale coffee on his breath. He was going on about respecting the chain of command in his house, his face turning, a dangerous shade of red that usually made my mother shrink into the wallpaper. But I didn't shrink. I just stood there feeling the familiar cold calculation wash over me. The same focus I used when authorizing a strike. Slowly, deliberately, I reached into my back pocket. Rick flinched, expecting a phone or maybe a middle finger, but instead, I pulled out a simple black leather wallet. I didn't say a word as I flipped it open, letting the hallway light catch the gold emblem, and more importantly, the common access card inside. The bold letters O-7 and the silver star seemed to suck the air right out of the room. Rick stopped mid-shout, his eyes bulging as he tried to process the impossible math staring him in the face. I locked eyes with him, my voice barely a whisper, but hitting harder than his shouting ever could. "Colonel, you are currently obstructing a flag officer," I said, stepping forward. "Stand aside." He thought he was disciplining his girlfriend's unemployed, lazy daughter. He didn't realize he was trying to give orders to one of the Pentagon's highest-ranking assets, a woman who authorized operations he didn't even have the clearance to know existed. To understand how he made the biggest tactical error of his life, we have to go back to the day I moved back in. I had come home for one reason. My mother needed help recovering from hip surgery, and I was the only one who could take the leave. But to Rick, my presence was an invasion. I was in stand-down mode, wearing oversized hoodies and sweatpants, hiding the deep exhaustion of a 9-month classified deployment where I hadn't seen the sun for days at a time. Enter Rick, my mother's new boyfriend, a man who believed a crisp uniform was the only measure of a person's worth. He looked at my baggy clothes and saw a failure. A 30-year-old drifting through life with a remote computer job. He didn't know that my computer job involved directing naval cyber warfare operations. To him, I was just a mess on the couch. The tension snapped the night he hosted a dinner party for his old army buddies. The house was filled with cigar smoke and war stories, and Rick was in his element holding court at the head of the table. Then he pointed a fork at me. "And that's Sarah," he announced with a sneer, introducing me to a table of strangers. The squatter finally came out of her cave. The table erupted in polite, uncomfortable laughter. I felt the heat rise in my cheeks, not from embarrassment, but from a quiet, seething rage. I commanded a task force of 300 elite operators. Yet here I was being told to clear the plates like a servant while they discussed real sacrifice. I silently stacked the china, my knuckles white, listening as Rick leaned in to whisper to a retired major on his left. He didn't bother to lower his voice enough.